to This Week in Svelte, episode 126. Today, it will be a very, very short one because I don't have a showcase. I tried to set something up, but I failed to do so because it needed a bit more time. And the changelog is very brief because, because it's Christmas. So a lot of people are like vacation and stuff like that. But let's jump into it anyway. And then if you have any question, we can chit chat and stuff like that. So as you can see, we have one release. So in the last 7 days. It is an interesting release anyway. So it's add CSP option to render and emit hashes when using hydratable. So this is kind of a weird one, but first thing first, like small disclaimer, I literally hate CSP policies. I don't know about you, but I like it's always such a pain to write your own CSP policy, and you have to figure out with strings. There's no type safety. I literally hate it. But what a CSP policy is basically a way to like protect your website, which basically means that once you declare a CSP policy, which actually it's redundant, like CSP stands for Content Security Policy. So like once you like create a CSP, basically what it does is that instruct the browser on what is or is not allowed on your website. And you can take a look at like what are the stuff in the CSP policy. But basically you can declare like, okay, I only want images that come from my domain. You basically like can disallow images to even like, you can even like put an image inside your like, even if you have a blog, for example, and there is a comment section, and sorry, I'm yawning again. Even if there is a comment section and someone like is able to XSS you and put an image tag there, if you have a content security policy header, like you can either write it in a meta tag or like directly in the header of your response. And you can basically like say, okay, I only want images from my own domain, or maybe you can say, okay, I want images from my own domain and example.com, or my own domain and something else. And you can specify a lot of stuff here. In general, like all resources. So like this also includes stuff like your JavaScript, your like CSS, stuff like that. And so for example, you could even like with CSP, you could even remove the ability to have script tags inside your HTML. So like if there is any script tag in your HTML with certain CSP policies, you cannot execute that. And like you can see, like it's very granular. Like even if there is some eval inside your code, it will literally break your page. Like it will not work at all. Same thing for iframes with a source, image with on mouse over and stuff like that. And it is very complicated. Again, like you can see, like for example, fetch directives. So like you can even like constrain, or I just realized that you probably are not seeing that at all, and it's very small for you. Sorry guys. But basically, like, yeah, you have script search, style search, image search, and even fetch directives. So like, I'm sorry. Even stuff like a fetch that you're doing, like even if in your code you are doing fetch towards something else, and you declare that you can only do fetch to your own domain, it will literally fail the fetch call. So it is very powerful. It's also a pain to make it work. And you notice that what you can do is that you can specify unknowns. So unknowns is a recommended approach for restricting the loading of script and style resources. With unknowns, the server generates a random value for every HTTP response, and it includes it in the script source and style source. And then you can basically specify a nonce attribute on the script and the style tag, so that basically this is saying, okay, I am generating this code, and I'm also setting the header content security policy saying that every script tag that has these very nonce can be executed. So this is basically a way for, like, if you do need to allow some script tag, you can do that by doing this nonce, so that only the page that has been server-side rendered like by your server, because you are setting the nonce, can execute the script tag. So like it's a way to get a bunch of controls over what can and cannot run. Sorry. You can also use hashes, which is basically kind of the same thing, but it's basically saying, it's not only saying that you can execute this, but it's saying like this is the value, like it's the hash of the value that this document contains. So this means that if for some reason you're receiving a man-in-the-middle attack, and however like this file changed, if it doesn't match with the hash, it will not execute. So like it's very powerful. Like you can do stuff that is very complex, but it's also like very difficult to set up because it's so powerful. You can mess it up, and there's also weird rules around like what like you can and can't, like basically what gets inherited and what not. So like it's a pain to deal with CSP, but it is very powerful. And now what this PR do is that it adds a CSP option to render, so that when you are using hydratable, since hydratable do need a script tag in your HTML, when you're using hydratable, this is basically saying, okay, you can add a CSP if you have a CSP policy, if you have a content security policy in your HTML, which is something that you should do for security, and you're using SvelteKit, or even if you're using Svelte with render and hydratable, what you can do is that you can define this CSP option and define the nonce that that hydratable will use. And so you can see, I think there is actually documentation on it. So let me actually show the docs, which are definitely better than me just blubbering without showing you anything. Svelte, I think it is in the render server. Yeah, you can see. Sorry, this is reference. Where it is? Under. This is just reference. I swear there was, so let me check actually, because I'm pretty sure that there was an update in the, okay, so it was in the hydratable documentation. So hydratable, where is hydratable? Yeah. So you can see that synchronization. No, it was not this one. Gosh, should be in this one, right? Yeah, CSP. It was not released. Oh, it is not merged yet into the. Oh, I guess I need to go do that. Okay, I guess I mean we can do svelte.js / svelte.dev to see at least the preview of that. So I guess it was merged, but then the sync from Svelte doc was not merged. For some reason, I think there is an error too on Vercel, so I don't think I can merge it. But again, there's no way for me to. That's annoying. Okay, I'll show you the documentation from here. But basically, since hydratable adds an inline script block, what you can do is that you can add this CSP nonce to the render function, which like SvelteKit does it for you, but if you're building your SSR by yourself, you need to do it. So you generate the nonce, you add it to the render, and then you also add it to the content security policy, like to the response headers inside here. And so this will basically generate your script tag using this nonce so that it can actually be executed. And if you like, this is for like this is just for like server-side render page. If you are pre-rendering, you should use hashes instead, which is with hash through, and the render will return a hashes, and then you can like use these hashes to allow these specific hashes inside your script source content security policy. So we recommend using nonce over hash if you can, and as hash will interfere with streaming SSR in the future. I wonder why it was failing to deploy this, and if it's now. Yeah, okay. We will see. I don't know if I can. Like I don't know if there's some secret stuff into the stuff. All right, so I'll figure it out later. And I think that was it actually for Svelte. We don't have any other release. We don't have any other release for SvelteKit. We do have 2 new releases for the MCP, but like one is just me publishing to the MCP server because, as usual, they change some stuff and it breaks the publishing. But we actually shipped something, which is we improved the prompt to reduce token usage. So if you are using the Svelte MCP, at least something that I did notice is that, so one of the tools of this Svelte MCP, so if I go to the documentation, one of the tools is a list section. So this is basically giving you the list of all the documentation section that you can get, and get documentation. And the get documentation basically allow you to get like pieces of the documentation through the MCP. So like the LLM basically can say, okay, I want the state documentation and the derived documentation and stuff like that. And then obviously there is the Svelte autofixer, which gets the code and return a list of suggestions. So something that I noticed, like I noticed 2 things that I think were wasting a lot of tokens. The first is that when you're using the prompt, so you can also like for clients that does support the prompts, you can basically do. Let me see if I can show you. let's say that I open this thing here, like, because VS Code is actually supporting prompts, and I do have this Svelte MCP server locally. New chat in editor. Okay, so you should be able to see. So now I have this Svelte MCP installed. Let me just MCP list server. Yeah, okay. Let me start the server. Now I have this Svelte MCP server installed, which means that if I want, I can use the prompt like this. I can do mcp.svelte, blah, blah, blah. And this will basically ask me for the task that I need to perform. And I can say, I don't know, create a counter component, right? It's very easy. And you can see that once you have the create counter component, you basically have this very big prompt, which is like the list, like it's basically instructing the LLM on how best to use the MCP server. And so you can say something like, you are a Svelte expert. You can say, you can invoke the tool get documentation. We also give the available docs. So like this is basically the result of list docs, like list sections. This is basically that, like it's the list of all the available documentation. And we also say something, okay, these are the available documentation section that list section will return. So something that I did notice is that even if you were using this prompt like this, the LLM would still call list section just in case. And so basically we were duplicating all these tokens, which to be fair, like they are like quite a bit of tokens. It's not a huge amount, like it will not fill up your context. But if I go to, I don't know, tokenizer online, this is the tokenizer that OpenAI is using. If I put this here, you can see that like the whole list is like 7K tokens for GPT 4.0. Like I think it's kind of the same, so I can probably switch to GPT. I don't know, it's probably still the same. Yeah, there's probably not much a difference. But basically, like, it is like 7,000 tokens, which, I mean, those are required. So like, it's not a huge deal to have this, but imagine like basically the LLM would just fetch it once again. So get another 7K token for literally no reason. So we basically adjusted the prompt so that it now says, hey, if you are using this prompt, you don't have to call list section once again. And another thing that I noticed as a user is that the LLM tried very hard to be sure, and so basically it called get documentation with ease. Like, okay, I need to do this thing. And for example, Claude really knows how Svelte 5 works already. So like he knows how $state works, how $derived works. And even if a model doesn't know, the Svelte autofixer can tell like when it's using it wrong with very few tokens. But despite that, just to be sure, the LLM was getting the documentation of state and derived and stuff like that, just because like, okay, I know that like in the prompt there is the fact that I can use this tool, so let me use it. And like the get documentation is literally fetching the docs. So like if I go to Svelte state, this is basically what is fetching. Like it's doing the, if I do /llms.txt, like this is what is fetching, which is not a lot again, but it is a bit wasteful in case. So if we go back to tokenizer, it is a bit wasteful to like to have yeah, 2,000 tokens just basically wasted because like Claude already knows all this stuff, but it's doing it just in case. And especially because like even for models that are not that smart and maybe they actually don't know how state works, it is a bit wasteful because like they can just use state wrong and then the autofixer will tell them, hey, this is wrong, with very few tokens. And so we changed the prompt so that you don't have to do like, it's basically saying, please don't actually invoke this easily because it will actually be token intensive. So that's in my opinion a good change. That's it for the MCP. I think we have a new release for Prettier plugin Svelte. Externalize all Prettier imports. Don't remove parentheses of bindings with has typecast. Okay, so like it was probably doing some stuff, and there's not much more. So that's it, unfortunately. But I do have some other stuff that I want to show you, and it is related to the MCP server because I'm actually, yes, I am Italian, il melons. What I was saying. Okay, so this is something that I've been working on recently. So right now, the MCP server is an MCP server. A lot of people are asking us for a skill. Now, to be fair, I don't think, in the case of Svelte, I don't think a skill is the right thing. In the sense that the reason why people generally prefer skills is because there are some MCP server that have very bloated tools. And so like if you have the wrong MCP server, when you install an MCP server, it will come with a baggage of tools, with a lot of tools, with a lot of very descriptive descriptions that basically bloat your context. I've seen images of I think MCP like context bloat example. Like you can see that like there is some yeah, I don't know if, yeah, probably in this article there's something, but basically, for example, yeah, there are some MCP server that actually ships with a lot of tokens just for the description of the tools. That's not the case for the MCP server, like the Svelte MCP server. We ship with 4 tools and all of them have reasonably sized descriptions. So you don't like the context bloat from the MCP server doesn't come from the description, which is what the skills will help with. But it comes from the content, but the content is not something that you can avoid. So the reason why I did all of this is because, like, regardless, people do want some skills, and in general, this can be a very nice addition to have. And so what we did is that we exposed every single tool as a JavaScript API and as a CLI. And so now you can, I mean, this is still a PR that is still open, and I invite you to take a look and even try if you want to write your own skills. We will definitely, there's also a PR open for a Svelte skill. And basically what this allows you to do is that you can actually use the CLI, like you can use the MCP server, which is the same MCP, like the same public package that we are publishing to NPM for the MCP server. You can also use it as a normal CLI. So like basically what I can do is that I can say npx like this, and I can say help, for example, and this should install the CLI, and then it should show me the things that are available. And basically what you could technically do, unsupported protocol. Oh, I think, maybe PMPX, PMPM, DLX, let me see. That's annoying. I guess I can just install it in a project. So let me do it very quickly. cd stuff, cd test.js. I think I already probably did it here. I think I can do this. pnpm rm svelte.js. Can I install it? Okay, I need to fix it. That's good. Okay, I mean, I can show you the tar, like the MCP TGZ things that I was doing. So like, I've installed this version of the Svelte MCP in this folder, and now I can do pnpm svelte MCP. Now, if I do it like this, it will just start the MCP server. So right now, the reason why you see it frozen, and I cannot zoom, and I hate it, regardless. The reason why you see that it's frozen is because it is listening for the process. But I can also do help, and this is basically using it as a CLI. And so all of these are basically the same tools that are available in the MCP server as a CLI. So I can do list sections, for example. MCP list section, and this will basically console log the same thing that the list section return, like value will return. And I can do get documentation, for example, and then I can pass something like svelte CLI. No, I think svelte $state. I need to escape it, and this will give me the documentation for $state. And I can also do svelte autofixer, and I can pass some code, hello, and then if I do this, this will give me like all the issues, suggestions, and stuff like that. So like, if I do stuff like this, script import $state from svelte /runes, for example, this should give me a suggestion that, hey, you're importing runes. Yeah, I mean, the s prefix is required. So like, even if I do this, for example, this is saying you're importing state from Svelte runes. This is not necessary. So like, this is basically the same behavior of the MCP server, but through the CLI. And so basically with a skill, we can tell the LLM, like, use the CLI instead of run the MCP server. And so if you do that, it should save some token. I'm not convinced, to be fair, but I mean, having a skill is not something that it's like detrimental. It's just something extra that you can do. So that's good. Except for that, you also get the ability to call the same tools with test.js API MCP. You can also import the tools and call it just like this. So like, if for some reason you want to invoke the tool within your program, now mind, this is a pretty big package. So like, because it's running ESLint in at runtime, so like, it's a pretty big package. But if you want, you can run the autofixer like this, and this will actually give you some suggestions. So like, we could, for example, I don't know, include this inside the Svelte REPL, for example. So like, you will get the same suggestion that the LLM does. I don't know. It's like random ideas, but there were some people that like asked for something like this, and now we plan to do it. And I think that's actually it. I don't have much more to show you. Maybe something else that I can show you is the new benchmark that we are building. Today is very AI focused, but we are building it's mostly Stanislav, to be fair. But we are building this benchmark, which is a very interesting thing, because basically we are basically building the same, if you are familiar with the benchmark from Stanislav. So Stanislav built this Svelte bench, which is basically a way to like see how well models does with Svelte 5 out of the box. And so you can see that like Anthropic Claude Opus 4.5, it's the best model to write Svelte 5 code. It basically passed 100% of the test. We have 10 tests, they run 10 times each, and every single time it generated a component that was actually like properly building a counter component using Svelte 5 reactivity and all of that. Now, what we plan to do is basically bring this to the next level. And so like in this benchmark that we've built, let me open the terminal and I want to show it to you. So let me move my terminal here. So basically in this benchmark that we've built, we are using Vercel Gateway, and then you can select whatever model you want. So for example, you could say, okay, I want, I don't know, to see how Gemini 2.5 Flash work with Svelte. You can select it, and this will give you an idea of how much it will cost. And you can enable cost calculation, and then you can also add the MCP integration. So like this will allow us to determine how well the MCP is doing, like if it's actually changing and making a model perform better. And we can also compare different versions of the MCP server. So like we can say a new release of the MCP server, is it doing the same job with less tokens, for example? And so like this basically will allow us to evaluate the MCP server. And yeah, so like I don't want to this. We also provide, like this is agentic now. So before it was basically a one shot. We were asking to generate the component, and if you did it, that's good. If you don't, that's fine. But most tools nowadays don't actually do that. Most tools nowadays actually like are able to run the test and see the changes and see the value, like the LSP component, like the language server errors and stuff like that. And so what we did is that now this is an actual agent, and so like we can provide the testing tool to the model. So yes, and now this will basically run for Google Gemini 2.5 Flash. It will generate a component and then run some tests to verify that the component that it actually wrote is actually properly using Svelte 5 and it's working and all of that. And after all of this, so as you can see, Gemini 2.5, right now it passed 100% of the test. Now, obviously, we are also still working on the test. So right now there are like 3 tests, which are all pretty simple tests. But you can see that even with that, and even with the MCP, Gemini 2.5 Flash used like almost 20k tokens. It costs like this much, which is not a lot to be fair. And it would have been costed even less with cached. But it was able to create a counter component, and you can also see like the code that it generated, which is pretty good. It was able to use derive.by. So if you take a look at the script tag, it was using derive.by, and it is now actually using derive.by. It was not able to generate snippets. So like this was the prompt, and if you take a look at the code, it is not actually generating a snippet. Like it was generating this snippet like inline and using it with render, which is not a thing. And you can actually, it's very interesting because you can actually see the steps. So like, for example, for a counter component, it basically one-shotted it. Like it called the Svelte autofixer. It had no issue. Yeah, it had no issue. And so like in the step 2, it said, okay, I'm done. For the derive.by, it actually took more steps because it generated the first code, and it actually got some, like it tried to import $state and $derive from Svelte internal, which is something that we actually look for because we know that a lot of LLM do it. And so like in the second step, it tries to do the same thing, but it's using on::click. And so like we are instructing the LLM to not do it, and then it goes once again, and this time actually generated proper code, and it works. So like, as you can see, like you can literally see the thought process of it. So in this case, it was doing this, this was returning some issue, and this will also allow us to make the MCP server way better, because obviously if we can see what the LLM gets wrong, we can tweak the MCP server so that, for example, if we see that title is a function and not a snippet, we can say, hey, maybe you should use a snippet instead of a function. And this is one of the very powerful things that the MCP server allow us to do. So this plus the MCP server will make the Svelte development very good, in my opinion. So I said that this would have been very short. In reality, like it's already, how much time has passed? 40 minutes, as usual. Even if I don't have anything to show you, I still blubber a lot. So, but I think that's it for today. I hope you learned something, and I wish you a very pleasant Christmas. For the next couple of weeks, probably even more, there will be no This Week in Svelte because Christmas time. But I'll see you next year, and yeah, like enjoy your Christmas, eat a lot. I know that I will, and play with Svelte, follow Advert of Svelte, do whatever you like, and enjoy your Christmas. Have a nice everything. Bye bye, guys.